doing? Maddie, Dusty, Lola, and my girl. I have a serious rant for y'all, and I hope that you guys find it really valuable information, because I certainly do. I had something happen to me the other day that kind of just reminded me of all these instances of something that can happen with dogs that's really necessary, even highly trained dogs. And I know that this doesn't matter, but just a real quick note. I'm sorry about my nose. I scratched the tar out of it a couple of nights ago, and it still hasn't healed up yet, so that's why it looks kind of scary. There's so many ways that I could go with this, but you'll understand what I'm talking about once I get going. So I'm gonna start with just simply saying that it does not matter how highly trained you think your dogs are. It doesn't matter. E-collar training is the absolute epitome of off-leash dog training. And I have colleagues that work with their dogs so much every day, hardcore stuff, and they would never take their e-collar off. And then I also work with some that do take their e-collars off. So here's the thing, even with all that, even with doing everything you could possibly do, there is a very clear factor in dog training that I just want to make sure that everybody knows. And I'm going to use my poor husband as a resource in this, and he's not here to defend himself, so I can use him. To give you an idea of where I'm going with this, Chris and I came here the other night with a dog that I was working with, and then I needed help, so I said, you can just exercise Dusty and Happy. Happy is very connected with me. I mean, it doesn't get more connected. Happy and I have been through a lot together. She's a very emotional dog. I'm a very emotional person. It's difficult for us to find that balance always, because we're both that way. But I strive hard to do that every day. So my point is that I hand over the e-collar to him, which he absolutely uses with the dogs occasionally. And he does work with the dogs occasionally, but I'm the pack leader. I'm the trainer. I'm the one who is with them, compared to him. It's like 70-30, 70% of the time it's me. Maybe it might be more. So I start working with this other dog, and Happy starts following me. I tell her no. She stops, lays down. But the whole point is to exercise her, right? So Chris tries to engage her in play with Dusty, and she won't play. In fact, when he releases her, she takes off towards where she thinks I am. And I hear him, I turn around, I hear him say no. I see him correct her. She kind of stops, but she sees me. And she's like, screw that, I'm just gonna blow through this. And she comes towards me. And I say no, and she lays down. And I try to give her like a go back, like get back, kind of thing. And she's like, maybe I'll just stay here. So Chris calls her, she goes back, and we do the whole dance again. She keeps trying to find me. So I just told Chris, I was like, just forget it. She's fine. She can just hang with me, while I work with this dog. It's not a big deal. So another thing that happens is a lot of times when Chris takes the dogs out one last time at night, a lot of times if she's in place command, or if she's just hanging out on the couch and maybe thinks that she might have been put in a down, he'll call her over, and she'll look at me, like she'll look at mom, and I'll say, go ahead, or okay, or break, or something like that, and then she'll go. So this has always been really funny to us. But what I've noticed, just thinking about all of this, and I will get to the incident that made me think about this, is that whenever I transfer my board and trains, like this lovely lady, whenever I transfer my dogs over to the owners and they say no and give a pop correction on the leash or an e-collar correction or anything, or say sit or down or anything like that, the dogs will look at me all the time. Some of the owners get it right away. They get it. I'm the one who's training their dog. Sometimes they feel bad. They're like, aw, they're not looking at me anymore. They don't care about me. They don't this, they don't that. It's a human emotion, which is understandable. I mean, I get it, but it is still a human emotion. Bottom line is I've been drilling your dog, for all of these things for the last 2 weeks, something that the owners might have never done. And even if they had done it, it doesn't matter. I've been doing it a new way, right? So a lot of times the dogs will look at me, and I just tell the owners, don't worry about it. As soon, no, down, I guess she just had an itch. She like got up, kind of bit her leg and spun around and laid down. I tell the owners all the time, yeah, she does have an itch. You guys see what Dusty's looking at? See the squirrel? And there's Dusty. Every time we come to the park, we're always working, no matter what. Okay, so I tell the owners, don't worry. As soon as I'm out of the picture and you practice this for just a few days, all of that looking to you for direction, all of that will absolutely change over, without a doubt. It always happens. Never had any issues with it. It always happens, okay? It's just the simple fact that I've been working with the dog, you know, for X amount of time, and I'm more of a leader to that dog than the owners are in that moment. Otherwise, they wouldn't be paying me to work with them in the first place. So that's just the realism of the situation, right? So I'm at the same park the other day, and one of my trainers, she started working for me. She was out here working with Maddie, actually, and she brought her dog, and her dog has some issues with Dusty back there. He just gets kind of puffy up about it, and he's a little protective. So I was like, oh, you know, no big deal. You go work with Maddie. So they were doing so good. I started doing recalls with him and giving him more freedom and letting him like walk kind of with Dusty as Dusty was playing fetch, which is really hard for him. He was doing so good. And we're alternating, you know, between putting him in a down and releasing them. And then Alyssa had just walked by, and I'm sure that he like caught a sniff of her because she had just gotten close to us. He hadn't worried about her at all when she was in the big loop, but when she did the little loop, all of a sudden he cares. So I'm thinking he's looking at some people playing soccer, but he was looking for her. And I release him, and he just takes off running, probably towards where he thought he last smelled her. Takes off running towards the path. At first I'm like, it's no big deal. He'll listen to me. I say no. I say, Louie, come. He thinks about it. Then he changes his mind and takes off. I yell for Alyssa, and Alyssa calls him, also makes him slow down, but it doesn't matter. He's still heading towards where they last were together, which is at the car. And I can see him looking at the vehicles, and he doesn't find hers, but he found one that looked like hers. Dogs do see some shades and colors and things like that, and shape and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's why he aimed for a car that was similar to hers. Plus, he's been taught to wait at curbs, so he just stopped and sat and looked at us like, what? And then when he saw her, he was so excited. It was like they had been lost, and it reminded me of how Happy acts sometimes when she was younger, and we were first working with her on stuff like this, and she had gotten far away. It happened at the beach once. She'd gotten really far away, couldn't find us, and then we saw her. But then when we found her, she was like, oh my God. So it's kind of that same reaction. He was so excited about, you know, finding his owner. And it was the fact that his owner, who trumps me, was here at the park. It doesn't matter that I was giving the commands that he knows. It didn't matter. If she hadn't have been here, it would have been totally different. But doesn't matter. She was here. So you know, that's the important thing. So just to kind of elaborate on that, for instance, Maxine, Alyssa, I would have no problem with them bringing my dogs to the park, having them off leash, playing fetch with them. I would have no issues with that whatsoever. But if I was here, that would be another matter. They would want to pay attention to me and not her. And, you know, one of the things that she's going to do is she's going to start incorporating her family into working on recalls and stuff like that. But that won't do any good unless she's around, right? She's got to be around, and the family's got to be working on recalls with her around. So he learns to listen to all of them, especially because they might get another dog. So that is a really important exercise that they're going to do. But to be perfectly honest, I mean, look at the examples I gave you with my husband and I. Dogs are my life, and even if I didn't do this for a living, the dogs would be my sole responsibility. And it would be the same thing that would happen. And the same thing happens in people's homes, right? There's always someone who spends more time with the dogs, and that relationship might be more affection and excitement based, where the dog completely blows that human off. Or it might be like it is with me in my home. I'm the one who provides the fun and the structure and the boundaries and the no's and the yeses and all of that. So they just look to me for that stuff more than they do my husband. It's not saying anything against him. That's just the way our life worked out. And every household is like that. So I think what I want everyone to take away from this, and again, to pick on Chris because it's fun because he's not here, sometimes when he works with my dogs, they're my dogs, of course. Sometimes when he works with my dogs, I'm like, and he'll get frustrated. I'll be like, ease up, chill out. Like, you can't expect them to be as well behaved with you as they are with me because you don't represent that to them. You don't practice with them. You don't put the work in, right? So I guess I pick on him about that sometimes. It's not really so bad anymore, but I used to pick on him about it a lot years ago when Happy, our little dog, used to have some pretty serious behavioral issues. Which she doesn't anymore, but they used to be pretty bad. And everybody has their story of how they get into dog training, and she's mine. But anyway, I think what I'm just telling y'all is you got to try to have that balanced relationship. For instance, I'll just use Maddie as an example since she's here. She's nervous of men and especially the new man in the family. They've only had her for a month. And so she's not as, squishy and lovable with the guy as she is, the woman. And the woman represents nothing but excitement and love and affection and trick training and fun stuff, basically. So it's going to be really hard for him. He's going to have to get more involved with the feeding and the petting the belly and also the structure aspect too, of course. And then she is going to have to take a step back from the lovey-dovey stuff and the fun stuff and just try to represent structure, boundaries, impulse control. And then they'll start to find that balance over the course of several weeks. And then they can kind of go back a little bit into normalcy as long as she's doing good. And that's just how the process works for everybody if you're successful. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is that this is something I think that is really important for people to know about dogs. That they absolutely will have a master. And even if it's not, most people don't get into a situation like Alyssa and I did the other day. That's very rare for someone to take someone else's dog and work with it while the other person works with another dog. But it happens with couples and families all the time in the exact same capacity. I even, on our Q&A Saturday, on our Q&A, I actually just got a question about a dog that gets really stressed out when his pack separates, his family pack separates. So this just has so many meanings, and it's not even that clear of a do this, don't do this. I think this is more of just one of my awareness rants. So this is one of my doggy awareness rants with love, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. In order for me to think of it, I had to have a complete heart attack the other day. So I like to take life experiences as well as the information that you guys provide me with in order to do these just little videos. So I hope that you guys found it useful, and have a good rest of your week.